First of all, on behalf of all the Who fans here, can I congratulate you and the band on your 25th anniversary.
Thanks very much.
I believe you reformed to play a concert at the Albert Hall earlier this year to mark the anniversary. How did it go?
It went very well, and it was as though we'd never stopped playing together, and the chemistry was still there, and we all enjoyed it very much. And we decided from that gig that we're going to make a record at the end of the year. So if we enjoy that and that goes well, then anything could happen later on. We don't know.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear. Have you started writing for the new album yet?
Yes, I've started already. I've got some ideas down. I'm going to be working with John on a few songs. I've got a couple of ideas for songs of my own with a friend of mine I'm writing. And I think it could be the kind of Who album that has been necessary for a long time. It's going to be not just a collection of Pete Townsend songs, but an album which is really the group getting involved, which will be good.
Now, in Australia, we've just had your new compilation album, Who's Better, Who's Best, released. Did you have a hand in the selection of the songs?
No, we basically left it to the record company because the whole concept was their idea, because in England there's a new wave of Who fans, very young kids getting into the Who, and the record company wanted to release a record like this because they felt it makes the Who much more accessible to a new generation of fans. And they did a lot of market research and came up with their own list of songs.
It's a really interesting concept, the way the album is put together, because it's got your very first single there, I Can't Explain, and I believe that it was a pretty slow seller until you went on TV to perform it. Is that right?
That's right. Can't Explain was we literally battled it up the charts to around about number 40, and that took about 3 months to get it to there. And then we did a Ready Steady Go, and it took off overnight then.
On the album show, my special guest is Roger Daltrey. Now, before I Can't Explain came out, in fact, before the Who were actually called that, you were in a band called the Detours. Just tell me briefly about them.
Well, the Detours were the Who under a different name. There was myself, John Entwistle, Pete Townsend, and various other singers and drummers. And we started round about 1961, and we were playing trad jazz, anything that was in the charts, all kinds of music. And then we later on developed into playing rhythm and blues, American Negro music. And it was around about that time that Keith Moon joined us, which was, I think, 1963. And we changed our name to The Who. From the Detours to The Who. Now,
the third single was My Generation. What gave you the idea to do the stutter singing in that?
Well, at that time there was the mods scene in London was enormous, and mods used to take a drug called Purple Hearts, which was basically speed, and people used to chew their lips on this drug, and it used to make them stutter because you get a very dry throat. And it was an acting job, just copying a mythical mod, who just couldn't express himself very well. I mean, I've said all jokey things as well about this. I mean, it was cold in the studio and all this, but the truth was it was just basically a way of creating a character.
Album show here at EON FM. My guest is Roger Daltrey. When Pete Townsend first played you the song, did you realise it would have such impact?
The lyric, yes. But when it was first written, it was really done. It was almost done like a Bo Diddley song. When he first wrote it, the first demo was done as a almost like Bo Diddley, that dum talking about my generation. It was like that. It wasn't. Kit Lambert did a lot of work in the studio in the production side of that and made it very hard. And then obviously it could have only have been an enormous record.
That's interesting. You mentioned Bo Diddley because Magic Bus is also a Bo Diddley riff, isn't it?
That's right. Well, Generation was very much like that when we started it.
Was there such a thing as a Magic Bus?
Well, I suppose some of our early tour buses could have been described as that.
Daltrey is my guest tonight on the album show. I was watching a video last night, Rog. It's on sale to coincide with the release of the new compilation. It's very revealing for lots of different reasons, but one of the most noticeable things is Keith Moon's very unorthodox drumming. Like on a song like I Can See for Miles, he's the lead musician. Was there any rock drummer comparable to Keith Moon?
No, he was totally unique. I mean, he had his own style that no one else would dare copy. He was also a clown. He was a wonderfully funny man. He was much more than just a drummer. He was wonderful.
The Who and some of their classic songs, I Can See for Miles, with Keith Moon, and some amazing drumming on that one. Magic Bus, My Generation, certainly one of the most powerful songs written during the 60s, and The Who's very first song called I Can't Explain, which was a hit for them back in 1965. Tonight I'm talking to the singer of The Who, Roger Daltrey, and all the songs that we're playing are featured on a new Who compilation called Who's Better, Who's Best. And I mentioned also during the interview that the album is available on video. You'll see some never-seen-before film clips of The Who, and also some live performances, some recorded at Woodstock. Let's go back now and talk to our guest tonight on the album show here at EON FM, Roger Daltrey. The new compilation includes 3 songs from Tommy. How did it feel when you're actually playing like opera houses and doing the whole Tommy set, just that? Was it a lot different from performing the usual Who shows?
Well, that's the whole scam, was that we weren't actually doing anything different, that we were doing actually at Who shows. I mean, it was, like Pete said, it was like crapping in their toilet. We were playing a full-length rock show in these kind of very posh opera houses, so it was great. The sound in them was fabulous, of course.
The album show, my special guest is Roger Daltrey. Did you enjoy performing in the Tommy movie?
The Tommy movie I enjoyed it very much. I still think there's a film to be made of Tommy, the right film to be made, but I mean, I did enjoy doing the film very much. It's very much Ken Russell's film, of course.
Yes, it is, and it seemed to be a very physically demanding film for you. Was that right?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
You looked extremely... I saw the film not so long ago again, and you looked extremely fit. Did you have to work out before the film, or did you keep pretty well up to length?
No, I mean, running about for Ken Russell, mate, that keeps you fit.
Rog, the Woodstock footage, which is on the video, was very exciting too. Did you realise the significance of Woodstock when the band were there?
All we were concerned about when we were there was getting paid, because we'd hopped our houses to get over there. I think anybody was there who was there at the time. There was no denying the importance of that gathering. But like David Crosby says, if anyone who remembers Woodstock either wasn't there or they're a liar.
Here at EON FM, my guest is Roger Daltrey. The Woodstock footage showed you swinging the microphone by its cord. Did it take you a long time to master that? Because you always seem to catch it in your left hand just at the very precise second.
It's just something that happens. I mean, I've never thought about it. It just came out of being bored of standing there just singing. And it fitted into the way that Who music was at that time, you know, very free, very explosive.
Did it ever conk you on the head?
A couple of times, yeah. I've never hit anyone else with it on the stage. I've only ever hit one person in the audience with it. That was, and I meant to.
Mate, when the 1971 album Who's Next came out, it was quite a departure for the band because you used synthesizers and keyboards a lot. Were you personally pleased with that direction the Who were taking back then?
Who's Next didn't have a lot of synthesizer on it, not an awful lot. I always worried about the synthesizer. I'm a guitar man. I still like screaming guitars. But I thought Who's Next as a recording was probably one of the best Who recordings we ever did. I think mainly because we rehearsed the stuff, the material before we went into the studio. We played it live on stage, and the music had time to breathe.
I thought that album had one of your greatest vocal performances too in Won't Get Fooled Again. What singers way back were ones that really shaped your vocal style?
Oh God, everybody I ever heard. You know, you listen and you hear something you like, and that shapes you. It's as simple as that.
What, just things you heard on the radio, or maybe American records that your friends were playing for you?
Everybody good. If I ever heard anything good, then it influenced me.
Here at EON FM, my guest is Roger Daltrey. On the video, the finale of Won't Get Fooled Again has Pete Townsend smashing his guitar. When did he do that for the very first time?
He did that. We were playing in a pub in Harrow and Wealdstone in London, and it was a cellar bar, and the ceiling was very low. And Pete used to have a style of playing rhythm guitar where his left arm would be straight up in the air, and the guitar would be vertical, and he'd be kind of playing across it. He went to do this in this pub, and the guitar hit the ceiling, and the neck broke, and it started to make these incredible noises. And then Pete smashed the rest of the guitar up, and it was like a dying animal. I mean, the noise from it was just incredible, and we realised then that this was going to be very expensive.
And was it?
It sure was. Very.
In the Dave Marsh book of The Who that I've read and have reread since I first got it, Dave portrays Keith as being someone who the band really loved, like he was the one sometimes that relieved a lot of tension between the other members of the group. He seemed like sometimes like a younger brother. Was he in fact as close to you as that?
Very much so, yeah. Or even more so. I mean, he was just a wonderful character.
When he died in 1978, did you consider breaking up The Who?
No, I didn't. I don't think Pete did either. I think we immediately decided then that the tragedy was enough. To lose Keith was such a terrible tragedy that to lose The Who as well without a fight would have been ridiculous. So we were determined then to keep it going. I don't know whether we did it in the right way, but we tried.
Why did you choose Kenny Jones particularly to take Keith's place?
I don't know.
What, is he a friend of yours?
Well, I mean, he's a very good drummer. I don't know why. I didn't ever want to get another drummer to replace Keith. I wanted to leave that door open because I felt that Keith's death gave us an incredible amount of freedom, which I don't think we used.
So would you like to have had like different drummers playing at different times?
Yeah, different drummers on different tracks and different drummers on different nights of a tour, because Keith was impossible to... And Kenny, being a very good drummer, I still, to this day, never felt that he was the right drummer for The Who.